new policy at the Pentagon that many say threatens free and fair journalism in our country. Members of the media had until yesterday afternoon to sign on to a new policy that would revoke reporters' press passes if they published information that has not been authorized for release by the Pentagon, even if that information is unclassified. 5 major broadcast networks, including NBC News, released a statement today saying they will not sign the new policy that they say would, quote, restrict journalists' ability to keep the nation and the world informed of important national security issues, end quote. Most major print organizations also refused the policy. The only outlet to reportedly sign the policy is the tiny conservative cable channel One American News Network. Those who declined the new policy had until this afternoon to turn in their Pentagon press credentials. Photos captured some media organizations packing up their things today. Tonight, we are joined by WTOP national security correspondent J.J. Green. J.J. has covered the military for 20 years. J.J., thanks so much for joining us tonight. You have been such a trusted voice and perspective for so many of us for years. You turned in your credentials today. Take us through your decision not to sign on to this new policy.
Well, thank you, Jim, for having me on. This was both an easy and a hard decision. And it was easy because there's really no option. It was only one option, really, and that was you can't sign this if you want to keep your credibility. None of us wanted this, and it wasn't something that anybody asked for. But there was really only one option, and that was to not sign it. And that was the hard part about it, knowing that if you don't sign it, you lose that access that in many cases you've spent many years building up. And there are people who are far more talented than I that work at the Pentagon every day, and I just feel for them. But that was kind of what went into this. It was something I knew was necessary if I wanted to keep my credibility and reputation, and I also knew that what I would lose by doing it as well.
And credibility and reputation are everything. JJ, how does it affect your ability to cover the Pentagon now, you and all of your colleagues down there?
Well, from my perspective, the only thing I lose is the photo on the wall there, because frankly speaking, not being a resident, having an office in there every day, it meant that I would come and go every day or fairly frequently. But it doesn't change what I do. Sources are really the key to this. I mean, access isn't about a credential. It's about a responsibility. And that responsibility does not stop or start with the Pentagon's doors. It is something that resides within the sources that I and the others have, and the trust between us and the respect. So nothing's changing, except the fact for me, I won't have a photo there on the wall next to the media briefing room.
You know, that's very important that you pointed that out for us. It's comforting to know that it is all about the sources and the years that you've built, and you and your colleagues down there too. So it will continue to be covered, the critical issues down there. In a social media post, JJ, earlier this week, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth wrote, quote, "Pentagon access is a privilege, not a right." He went on to say the Pentagon now has the same rules as every U.S. military installation. From your time, JJ, covering the military, does this new policy line up with what you've experienced?
Well, you know, the Secretary has the right to say what he would like to say about this, but this isn't something that I'm familiar with in terms of, you know, lining up with the rest of the military. Part of the reason why the Pentagon exists and has since the 40s was because journalists are the surrogates for the people. People can't afford to take time off to sit and follow and watch, go to meetings and travel to do things, to learn about news and to keep up with what the Pentagon and the military are doing. That's what journalists are for. We are the surrogates for the public. And on military bases and military reservations, yes, there are strict rules about where you can go and who you can go with and how. But the Pentagon is different. And that was by design, to give us access to people and, you know, information in there. Nobody goes, at least I don't go and ask for classified information. And nobody's ever offered me any. And we always, and I always wore my credential wherever I was. So I wasn't sort of roaming around just willy-nilly or free to go wherever,
Right.
recognizing that there's a great deal of respect that you have to show for that place and the rules and regulations, just like you do anywhere. But this is, Jim, different from what we've been experiencing and exposed to over the years.
Final question. What do you fear could come from this new policy? And is there anything that can be done to reverse it, do you think?
I think what you have done this evening is the thing, because what I fear most is that people will tomorrow move on to the next breaking news, move on to the next story. People right now are inundated with developments, and it's hard for people to keep up with them. There are some things, arguably, that are more important than others. I think nothing is more important right now than the state of the American people's personal situations, and that's going to keep them in a situation where they have limited bandwidth to follow things. But I do fear that people will move on from this, and I hope they don't, because this is one of the hard decisions that all of us are going to have to make in this society we live in now. But I hope people don't forget about this and recognize and realize the importance of the work that journalists do for them every day.
So well put. WTOP National Security Correspondent J.J. Green. J.J., thanks so much for taking time with us and sharing your insights. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, my friend. It's good to see you again.
Great to see you as well.